Howdy, all. It's proof that I don't keep a grudge because I'm wearing a T-shirt that gave me type 2 diabetes. So the show today is brought to you by a Coke. Oh, just kidding. First of all, we have to celebrate a birthday today. Miss Jillian Fisher is, 12 years old today?
Yes, I turned 13 today. I turned 13.
Did you get your learner's permit?
Not yet. I can't drive yet. No.
Okay.
And obviously you had your braces taken off, so everything's fine.
I did. I did. My braces are gone. I'm still looking forward to being able to drive, and I can see PG-13 movies. It's really exciting.
In a couple years, you'll be celebrating your sweet 16. There you go. Okay.
Glory.
A pet peeve of mine, and I have many pet peeves.
You do.
I received today in the mail my renewal for my car insurance. Okay. My car is a year older, which means it's a year less worthy of being stolen. The appraised value of the car is less, so the value is depreciated. I haven't had any accidents. I haven't had any speeding tickets that they know of. And my car insurance went up $150. What the hell is going on in this world?
Didn't you get a ticket?
It's not adjudicated yet, so it's not. There is no record of it yet.
I think there's a record still.
I think there's a record.
That's a lot, though, to go up per month for one ticket, though, isn't it? I don't have a driver's license because I'm only 13, so I wouldn't know. But
that's funny. So what? $150 overall, or did it just go
$150 for the year? I mean, it went up like $10 a month. I mean, fine. But I'm just saying, based on the criteria that they, it's like if I had an accident, if there was this, or if there was that, I could understand it going up. But there was nothing.
Because you drive in Canada so much, there's like exchange rate,
Ah.
That has nothing to do with it.
They're charging more for driving in Canada.
And this is the thing, Dan. Like all the things that you would think would decrease the amount of the insurance. Like I've gotten a year older.
Yep.
So if you're older, you're more experienced. They don't at this point they don't know that I had a ticket. So well, whatever. Say they don't, just for the sake of argument. I mean this, But I'm just saying, it's like it doesn't make any sense. So anyway.
What's funny? I always say on my insurance, they show me all the discounts I get: safe driver discount, getting older discount, all these things. Your car's older discount, and yet it still goes up. So show me it'll look like $350 to $400 in discounts, and I look at it and I'm like, so how did it go up? But it does.
So all I have to say is, Flo, you a hoe.
Wow.
Ouch. That's harsh. All I know is that my car insurance has steadily gone down because when I was 17, I got into a car accident, and when I was 18, I got into a car accident. So
it's a good start.
Yeah, it's a good start. I fell asleep at the wheel. I had a concussion and all this fun stuff, and totaled my car, ran into a brick wall. It's good times.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a really
there's a Flyers goalie joke there, but I'm not going to make
it. No.
I didn't make it. I didn't make it.
I'll say this.
Just remember, everybody, I was not the one who went down that road.
I'll say this. You look really good for hitting a brick wall. There you go.
I have a scar on my eye, though, like right up here. You can't see it unless you get really close. But I have a nice. All I remember is I got out of the car and I was like, "This is not right." I don't remember anything else other than being, "This is not right." And
see, when Meg Ryan hit a brick wall, she really hit a brick wall.
Wow.
All right. Wow. Let's start the show, shall we?
Yeah, please.
Dan, Jillian, then Russ, and we may have Eck today, depending on the traffic in the Philadelphia area.
That's the rumor.
It'd be as bad as Boston.
Nothing is as bad as Niagara Falls, Ontario.
Oh, stop.
Hey, I stayed in Niagara Falls.
I got 3 words for you, Mike.
You're right.
Cross Bronx Expressway.
Cross Bronx is still, yeah.
That Trump salt.
Have you ever seen this sign that said next 4 miles, 120 minutes? I've seen that more than once.
I've crossed the Tappan Zee Bridge, so I know what it's like.
Tappan Zee's nothing. That is nothing. That's a walk in the park.
What is?
Tappan Zee Bridge is nothing. That's child's play.
Compared to what?
trying to get across the Hudson, lower Hudson, any
Okay.
time in the afternoon.
I didn't know what we were comparing it to. Sorry.
Yes.
Get a paddle and a rowboat. Okay. All right. Hello, Hockey World. Today is Thursday, July 7th, 2016.
I'm Dan Petru.
I'm Jillian Fisher.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
Hey, no kid. And I'm Michael Lugello, and this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. Eklund may join us at the end of the show. Today we are brought to you by you. We are running we're trying to fund this webcast through Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/hockey, you can give to your heart's content as much money as you'd like to, feed us poor people I need.
Look at his shirt. I mean, if nothing else, an extra $10 will get this guy a better shirt.
It would. No, that's vintage. He bought it that way.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
The Gap had a sale, so there you go.
I remember. It's so funny. I have a Jeff Sanderson 1996 Whalers jersey, and it's now framed and signed. But at the time, someone was like,
why would you do that?
Because he was my favorite player growing up. And well, no, he wasn't. He was my second favorite player.
And Andrew Castles was, right?
No, Kevin Dineen was my favorite, then it was Sanderson. But anyway, I got it signed, and I was like, I'm never going to wear it again out of protest. And someone was like, oh, that's a great retro jersey. And I'm like, it's not retro, it's just old. I had a Forsberg Nordiques jersey. Like, oh, my God, amazing retro. And I'm like, no, I just bought it back in the early 90s. It's just old.
Yeah.
But it's still retro then too, though.
It is, yes. And I was not. I'm like, I will never sell this jersey. Then someone said, I will give you this much money for it. And I was like, here is that jersey.
I will.
Everything's for sale with you, Dan. That's terrible.
Well, when it's about 4 times what you paid for it, it's hard to say no.
Well, my favorite player when I was younger was Wendell Clark, and I bought a Wendell Clark jersey in 1987 when it was his second year in the league. And then met Wendell Clark about 10 years ago and got him to sign the jersey that I had bought. So that jersey is 30 years old. It's not an original jersey. It's not a game-worn jersey, but he signed it. So eventually when I have the funds, people from Patreon will give us some extra funds. I'll be able to get that framed. So
I will divulge this one story. So I went to the Hall of Fame game years ago when Tom Seaver was inducted, and it was Mets-White Sox. And I bought this cool hat, and I remember my wife and I were walking into the game with some friends, and a guy said, hey, that's a great hat. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you could buy it. He goes, you can't find this hat anywhere. I'm like, well, that's too bad because I really like this hat. The guy goes, I'll give you $50 for it. Before I could give an answer, my wife rips it off my head and says, sold. She takes the $50 and she goes, here's the hat back that you wore when you came in. And, I didn't even have a chance to comment. It was that was that quick. I probably bought it for $15, and the guy bought it for $50. So, Dan, I'm with you. I get it.
Yeah. When someone offers you $400 for an $85 jersey, you say yes.
Well, let's talk about the news today. It's funny that we're at the end of the first week of July, and this is including free agency and now the rookie camps. It's one of the busiest times of the non-hockey playing year. Russ, you were at the Flyers rookie camp this morning. I was up in Niagara Falls.
My report, or at least part of it.
Yep. I was up at the Leafs rookie camp this morning. And the funny thing was, Jillian, the Leafs did the announcement for their 100th anniversary. They revealed the Centennial logo and some of the things that they were going to be doing to celebrate the Centennial of the Maple Leafs, new banners and a few other things. And most of the media was up at that presentation at the Hockey Hall of Fame, and justifiably so. There were only a few people at the arena in Niagara Falls, and I recorded a video of Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner battling along the boards, and it went viral and got 300 retweets. It was just hilarious. Which I guess it was because me and 2 or 3 other people were the only people there. But okay, let's talk about the Marner and the Maple Leafs in a minute. But the news of the day was the signing of Kyle Palmieri. Now we talked about this yesterday, Russ.
Yep.
We thought maybe it would go to arbitration. he gets a 5-year deal at $4.65 million after having a pretty good year. I mean, what do you think of that deal?
That's a great deal. I mean, I think Ray Shiro's had just a tremendous offseason. He got him at the right price. He, again, we'll always wonder why Bob Murray traded this guy, like we will, because he was always a good player, and he just maybe didn't score to this degree, but he never really had the opportunity to this degree either. So I really like him. I like the deal. I thought it was smart. And now this will have some implications. You know, Braden Shen now will make at least what Palmieri's making, even though they're not guaranteed, you know, they're not exact replicas of each other. It's going to be pretty close. And then Shen can say, and I play center too, so that's going to factor into it. So it does have some repercussions.
Dan, I mean, he had a very good year last year. They gave up a couple draft picks for him. A lot of people, when that deal was made, thought, you know, they're giving up, I think it was a second and a third. And, you know, Palmieri was pretty good with Anaheim, but no, I don't think anybody thought that he was going to be as good as he was last year with New Jersey, and he had a really good year. So, I mean, do you think this contract is out of line, or do you think it's just about right?
I think it's a fair deal. It's I think if you look at what he's done in his career, and obviously he had a career season, he's still young. I think this is a good deal. I really do. And sometimes a player just needs an opportunity. Sometimes a player gets buried in the organization and just needs a fresh start somewhere else. And I mean, he went from playing, you know, middle 6 to bottom 6 minutes in Anaheim to suddenly playing top 6 minutes and power play time the entire season. And for a skilled player, sometimes they need that. Look at what through the Kings run here. How many players that just didn't, there was no room for them on the Kings, ended up surfacing somewhere else and creating good niche for themselves. Sometimes when you get one of these teams like in LA, like in Anaheim, where they're just loaded up and down the roster and they've developed well, sometimes there's no room for some players.
Yeah, I'm Jillian. I think Palmieri's a good player. I like some of the moves that New Jersey has done so far. I mean, I think the Taylor Hall move, the trade for Adam Larson, I mean, I think that's a major step forward for them. Now, you know, you're a Philadelphia follower, and that team is in the division. I mean, are the moves that the Devils making? Do you think those are? That's going to.
The hockey will definitely be more exciting in New Jersey, and given that Jonathan is a Devils fan, so a lot of my friends on Facebook and some of the other people I follow are Devils fans. And I immediately knew something happened because they were all very excited about this. I think there's also something to be said about him being hometown. He's from Jersey. I think that actually adds value to him in Jersey because I think that's more exciting. Anytime you have that hometown player, it does add some extra value. But I think it's a good move. I think it's a great deal for the Devils.
Russ, I mean, the thing is with the Devils, and it wasn't a very noticeable change last year, but you started to see it. They started to get away from the Lou Lamoriello defense first, you know, mode into more of an offensive team. You know, Stempniak was a good addition as a walk on, as a training camp invite, and they flipped him for a draft pick. Players like Henrique and Travis Zajac had really good offensive years. Camilleri, when he was healthy, was having a pretty good year. So, I mean, now bringing in Hall, re-signing Palmieri, I mean, I think it's ironically the weak spot now on that team is defense because they got rid of Adam Larson.
Yeah, I don't think it's that weak of a spot because they have guys down below. You know, Josh Jacobs will be there in a few years. Santini will probably have a chance to make the team, but because of injuries, previous injuries, probably won't make it this year. There's another defenseman who I'm forgetting right now, a USA product.
Severson, Merrill. I mean, they have.
John Merrill's the other one. John Merrill, they extended at a really great rate.
Yes, they did.
You know, I think he's going to continue to get better. Severson was one of the best steals in the last 5 years of any draft, or 7 years probably now. I like their defense. I think it's fine. I like what their offense can bring. Zonka is going to get added. Are they a playoff team yet? I'm not sure. But if Taylor Hall would have a career year, it would go a long way into making that happen.
Yeah, That's a good point, Russ, because if you look at this team right now, the defense is good. I wouldn't say it's great, but it's good enough. And you have a goalie who has proven that he can win 1-0 games. He can win 2-1 games. He can win those. He's always in a close battle. So now if you upgrade the offense and you know with Zaka, and hopefully he makes a contribution, and Taylor Hall, all of a sudden they're scoring more goals. I don't think they're a playoff team yet, but I definitely think you're going to see them rise in the standings and be very close to one.
Yeah, and there was another couple signings. One just came over the wire a few minutes ago, but we'll talk about that one in a second. Matthew Perreault with the Winnipeg Jets had a year left on his contract at $3 million. Now signs a 4-year extension at $4.125 million per. Okay, nothing against Matthew Perreault. I think he's a pretty good offensive player. But we're getting into the territory here, especially for a team that has the reputation of being sort of fiscally restrained. I don't see Matthew Perreault as a $4 million player, Russ.
It's tough. I mean, what
is a $4 million player these days?
That's what I was going to say. What is a $4 million player? I think we're starting to see that none of us are going to believe that anybody's worth $4 million anymore, whether they get it or not. So he's important to that organization. He's a good player. They've had him. They know what he is. It's not terrible. I mean, these days, $4 million isn't that much.
Well, okay, let's ask Jillian. Let me ask you this question. I mean, back in the day, maybe even a few years ago, a $4 million player was a top 6 forward.
I mean, a few years ago, I was too young to remember it. So
I saw where you were going with that.
Single digits, right? Since you're 13.
I mean, yes, yeah, I would say if somebody was paying $4 million, I would say he's a top 6 player. Yes.
Yeah, and now, like, I mean, Russ, I think a top 4 defenseman, top pairing defenseman is usually in the $6 million range. Now a second pairing guy is in the $4 million range. So if you're getting a forward at $4 million, that may be a second line guy, but it could be a third line guy. So I mean,
I think it depends on the team. I mean, look at the third line in Pittsburgh. You had Hagelin making $4 million a year. You had Kessel making $7 million, and I'm not sure what Bonino makes, but it's not chump change. I think it's based on
$1.9 million. Yeah, $1.9 million.
Oh, that's a bargain. That's an absolute bargain. But
How
anyway,
much was it?
a 1.9 for Bonino.
$1.9 million.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But I just think it's based on team needs, and I think Russ has a point. They know what they have with Perreault. You know, sometimes knowing what you have is better than trying to go off into the unknown. I mean, it is what it is. He has scored 18 before last season. He had scored 18-plus goals in consecutive seasons. He should be good for 40 to 50 points, and I think 40 to 50 points is worth $4 million these days.
Mm.
I was trying to look up his face-off percentage, but I don't think it's good enough to mention because I was thinking, well, if he was a real face-off shark, maybe that's why, but it doesn't seem like it.
The other sign that just came over the wire was Jakob Markstrom from the Vancouver Canucks, who is the backup goaltender to Ryan Miller when Ryan Miller is healthy, which is not often in recent years. Markstrom has signed a 3-year extension at $3.6 million per. And again, this Jim Benning striking again, Russ.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, I don't think he is striking again. I've always liked Markstrom. Sometimes goalies do take till they're like 25 to really reach their peak. I think he's a little bit over that now.
He's 26.
Yeah, he's proven he's a solid backup who could start games and could start for stretches. I think he's worth it. I totally disagree. I would take him at that contract every day of the week.
He's making more than Reimer is, and Reimer is going to start as the starter. Is going to be the starter in Florida at the beginning of the year because of Luongo's hip injury, and it's
It doesn't mean I like Reimer better because I don't.
It's just like we still don't know what he is. He's 26, and we really don't. Is he a starting goalie? Is he a backup goalie? I mean, last year were his career year, and he had 2.73 goals against and a 9.1 save percentage. It's average.
No, but on that team, you got to remember that team doesn't have a rock solid defense either. They don't.
It's like we still don't know what he is. That's my point, and it's
been. And this is the thing where
years.
I've mentioned it a few times when it comes to the Canucks, and I know this is a point of contention between me and Russ. I look at this team and I say they need to rebuild, and everybody else is saying, no, let's go out and spend money on Louis Eriksson. Let's trade for Gabranson.
Are you saying Louis Eriksson hurt their team?
No, I'm saying what they should be doing is rebuilding. I mean,
they did rebuild by getting Gabranson. It's not like Gabranson's old. You
No.
got a young stud defenseman. I mean, but I'm saying, but this is what I think people are overlooking.
Yeah. Well,
They're great. They're not great, but they are improved.
Gabranson's a good defenseman. He's a good second-pairing
Really good
defenseman
Yeah.
who's going to want $5 million at the end of the season, and he's never had more than 10 points in a year.
and that laughter you hear is the analytics crowd saying he's a good defenseman.
But he is, and he doesn't need.
No, he is a good defenseman. I know what the analytics say. He is a good defenseman.
But I mean, I don't think Louis Eriksson's a $6 million times 6 years signing.
No, but he's one of the best forwards available, and that's what happens.
And he improved them defensively, too. He's a really good defensive forward as well.
That's true. He is a really good defensive forward.
And for the 2 remaining years of the Sedin's contract, because I don't know whether after those 2 years they're going to retire or go back to Sweden or whatever. Or
Mike, I'm with you. They held on to their core too long. They didn't know what to do, and now they're in a spot where those guys have no value. And you know, it's like San Jose kind of did that too. They held on. They decided to hold on to their core too long, and it actually worked out because they developed, they drafted well, and they got some players in there. But Vancouver, like those guys have no value now, and now they're stuck. They're not in a full-blown rebuild.
Wrong. What if they become like the California Angels, who had like this 38-year-old infield? They had like Bobby Grich and Doug DeCinces, and everybody was like, these guys are, and everybody was like Rod Carew. Everybody's like, these guys are done. And you know what? And they did have one more really good year. It sometimes happens.
Reggie Jackson and Don Baylor and Brian Down.
I think the Sedins, even at where they are still 65 to 75 point guys, even at their age. But at some point, you're like, you know what? We're not going to win a cup. We're nowhere close to winning a cup. We need to start from scratch.
Vancouver, were they ever going to win a cup anyhow? Sorry, Vancouver fans. Anyhow.
The problem is the comparison between them and San Jose is that, you know, like Thornton and Marlowe became supplementary pieces to the new core, Pavelski, Couture. There is no Pavelski or Couture in Vancouver. Brandon Sutter is not that. Bo Horvat or Jake Virtanen are not that yet.
Those two have a chance. Those two have a chance.
They do, and that's you have to also look at that.
But you can't ask Bo Horvat to step up and be a 70-point player like Joe Pavelski.
He's never going to be 70, but he had a really good year last year, and he will improve.
The point is that they're still dependent on the Sedins and now Louis Eriksson to be the spearhead of their offense.
Wait, don't they still have Sven Barshy? Don't sell him short either. He had a good year.
And Alex.
Sven Barshy would have been a second liner on the Toronto Maple Leafs. You of all people have no room to laugh.
Ooh.
Okay.
Barshy?
You continue, Russ. You were going to bring up something?
Yeah, I was going to bring up. I wrote an article yesterday on Sportsology. It was an article talking about the Finnish hockey program. I interviewed Jonas Donskoy on Media Day before the Stanley Cup started, and I started talking to him about just what he felt like, why the Finnish program has gotten so good. And here's some things that I was able to look up. So World Junior-wise, the under-20s, they've had 4 gold medals overall, yet they've won in 2014 and 2016. So the last 2 years have been like spectacular for them. We saw in the World Championships they just lost to Canada. I mean, they weren't going to probably win that game. Laine wins the MVP. They won the under-18s. Like right now, there's a lot going right with the Finnish program. And I asked him about it, and he said something very interesting. He said, you know what? They're not teaching these kids as much system. He didn't talk about the systems thing, but other writers have told me about it. They're not teaching systems anymore. They're just sort of teaching players to have fun and play. And he was talking about how they have pride, how the defensemen are solid, how the goaltending's always been good, but now all of a sudden they're getting some skilled players. And it's true. I think they are doing the right thing when it comes to just bringing the kids up. And you're starting to see, I mean, again, we talked about this offline, Mike. You were talking about Koivu and Solani, and then it got a little thin as far as talking about guys.
Right.
You know, Puljujarvi and Laine, first 2 in the top 5, that's never happened. They've never had a first overall guy, but you got to believe that's probably coming in a few years.
Right.
Because before Laine, Kari Lehtinen was the highest drafted Finn. And then we look at it, how many more Finnish players are getting drafted? If I asked you, Dan, what the percentage of Finnish players is in the NHL, like as of like last year, what would your guess be?
10%?
3%.
Yeah.
That's all.
That's
Wow.
it?
Well, the ones who are in the NHL are really good.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And now there's probably going to be more in the next 3 or 4 years. Like there were a fair amount of Finns drafted in this
I mean,
draft.
a lot of strides have been made over the years. I remember, like, back in the '80s, you're talking like Matty Hagman and Rio Ruotsalainen, and there were Pekka Radicalio and a few of the other but there wasn't any stars. And then Solani came and
Say
Coy.
Sammy Kapanen, because if you don't mention him, you get killed.
Well, that was later on. That was in the
How about Jari Kurri?
Yep.
Well, yeah, that's it. That is true.
Godfather of it. Yeah.
But okay, and we could start a debate on this. Was Jari Kurri a creation of Wayne Gretzky?
No.
I mean, some people think so. Some people. I mean, you got to remember, in his first year in the NHL, Wayne Gretzky made B.J. McDonald, who was a borderline NHLer, into a 40-goal scorer, and Brett Callaghan into a 30-goal scorer. So,
Yeah, but look at Curry did it every year. Every year. That's like saying Brian Trottier made Mike Bossy a goal scorer.
No, but
they're just two Hall of Famers that happen to play next to each other.
There was a shelf life, though. There was a shelf life because when he went to L.A., he wasn't as good, but he still was really good. And then when he went to the Rangers, there was just, always when players go to the Rangers, there was nothing left.
And nothing would be the right time. Yeah, when they got nothing left is when they go to the Rangers.
And nobody remembers the half a year or less that he was in St. Louis.
No.
But
Really? I have no memory of that.
He got traded from L.A. to St. Louis, and that you don't remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
He got traded from L.A. to St. Louis. I think it was at the deadline, actually, and they lost to Detroit, and I think it was the second round of the playoffs. That famous Steve Yzerman goal that you see on NHL Network.
I didn't know Curry was on that team.
Not Curry. I'm talking about Gretzky.
Oh no, I know that. I thought you were talking about. Curry.
No.
I don't remember.
Oh, and just to let Mike know, Sven Baertschi's 15 goals would have ranked him 4th on the Leafs last year. Anyhow, moving on.
Julian, you wanted to talk about a charity that Matt Zuccarello has something to do with?
Yeah, he had his charity, his All-Star game in Norway, and it's for the right to play. He's an ambassador, and he also has the Zuccarello Foundation. And if you don't know what the right to play is, it's a global organization, and it's the UN believes that play is a right. It's not a privilege, and it can help empower children, especially those facing tough situations. It can teach them life lessons. It can, encourage them and help bring them out of a bad situation, or just give them a distraction when things are going wrong. So this is his 3rd year for the charity event. If you want, there's a Facebook page for it, or it's an event. It's the Zuccarello All-Star Game. It's mostly in it's mostly Norway. I don't know the actual language. Norwegian. I can't think of the word. Norwegian. But you can translate it. And if you want to see the pictures and videos from it, you can search on Instagram as well. #ZuccaASG. And it raised it was 2 million Norwegian kroners, which is about $240,000 US, which is a huge increase from the prior years where it was 170 and 190,000, and he even got Henrik Lundqvist to come play. So it's great to see it growing. And I know last year at a certain point he was in Tanzania, showing kids how to play hockey. So he's just being, I think, a great ambassador for the program and for the sport, and it's worth giving him props for that.
I got to tell you, he's one of the really fun guys in hockey. Especially after last year. I mean, again, that injury, he had to relearn how to speak. He had to relearn how to walk. Nobody knew it was that bad when he first got hit in the head. And so, with the puck, but he's always been a great guy. He and Lundqvist have always hit it off. They've always been buddies. He is just a joyful guy. If you interview him, he's never had a bad day, man. This guy, ever since he's gotten to the NHL, he's not had a bad minute in his life. And it's fun to see a guy like that.
Well, remember, he was an undrafted free agent.
Yep.
I mean, you talk about Donskoy, and Donskoy was drafted by, I think it was Florida, you said, right? But then didn't get signed by them and get signed as a free agent by San Jose. Zuccarello was an undrafted free agent. This was somebody who was. It was a different year, but you bring up Fabian Brunstrom or Jonas Gustafsson, these guys from Scandinavia that come onto the scene and, oh my God, they're going to be the next big thing, and they turn out to be nothing. And this guy was sort of understandable. You heard his name, but you know.
World Championship. He did really well in the World. No, actually, the Olympics. I'm sorry, in the Olympics.
Right.
That's where he
was the Olympics. Yep.
The Olympics.
And all of a sudden, his name came about. And you know, where is he from? Because his name sort of sounds Italian. You know, Zuccarello. And he signs, and look at the player that he's been for the Rangers. He's been a very effective player, and I mean, arguably, I'd say one of their top 2 or 3 forwards, maybe one of their
best forward.
Yeah, their best forward.
Last year, he was their best forward.
Yeah,
by far.
And he's doing a lot too for Norway with the Zuccarello Foundation. He's doing a lot to help their grassroots quote unquote movement, helping out hockey programs that need additional assistance. So he's loving the sport all around, and that's great to see. Anybody that can put that much energy, and when they have such positive energy like that, that's always great to be putting back into the game.
Always nice to have a few extra kroners in your pocket, too.
Yeah, that helps too. That, I'm sure, is very helpful.
You say cronuts or kroners?
Kroners.
Well, cronuts would be nice, too. I'm not going to lie.
I've never had a cronut, so I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
It's a croissant and a donut, Mike.
Yeah, it's a croissant donut hybrid.
Get up with the lingo. Jeez.
Yeah.
I don't like genetically altered fruit, so I'm not going to eat genetically altered donuts.
It's not. It's just baked differently.
Mike, you got to open your mind up a little.
The purpose of an open mind is to close on something. Anyway.
All right, let's subject change. What's next?
Yeah, please. Russ, bring up the next subject.
All right, so it was supposed to be your subject to talk about Mitch Marner.
But I want you to introduce it. I just need to...
That's fine. I will talk about Mitch Marner, and I'll say that I saw your video at rookie camp, at dev camp, and he looks great. He really does. The funny thing is he could draw the defense to him. It doesn't matter if you're a teammate and you're playing against him and something like that. He just has a way of drawing guys to him, and then he could make the greatest passes or a great shot. Either way, and that video, he really shows off his talent. Again, it's a drill, but it just shows the kind of talent he has and will bring down the road.
And the video that Russ is talking about, and I'm going to post it in my blog in a little bit, and I tweeted it out earlier. It was a one-on-one drill between Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, and Austin Matthews has about, I'd say, 3 inches and about 60 pounds on Mitch Marner, and Marner and him go into the boards, and Marner at least breaks even, and if some people look at it, probably wins the battle. In the end, Matthews got the puck, but for most of it, Marner was holding his own against him. And this is somebody who, at the beginning of this developmental camp that's going on, said he was 163 pounds and he wants to get to 170 before the start of the season. So
I want to get to 170 again too.
Yeah, I got a ways away before I can get to 170. Thank you. Jeez, thank God. But you know, that being said, I mean, I have to say, and you can't really draw conclusions from drills. And we're gonna the Leafs are gonna hold an inter-squad scrimmage tomorrow in Niagara Falls that's open to the public, and one in Toronto on Saturday that's closed. Austin Matthews' skill is off the charts. I mean, they ran this drill where you take a shot, you cash in the rebound, you go to the corner, get the ball. It was like 3 or 4 different things, and you know, 3 of the shots were top corner, and it's so quick and so big and so talented, and got. What
I like about him is there's never any hesitation.
No.
There's no hesitation in his play. He knows exactly what he's going to do. He does it. It's slick. It's fast. Everything's at top speed. Like that's something where we used to only see like unbelievable players do that in the NHL 20 years ago. Now like half the NHL can do that. Really, I mean, yeah. It's unbelievable.
I mean, Dan,
there's a quiet confidence level there too. He knows. Yeah. He knows he can do this. I think like I said it before, going over to Europe and not struggling and being one of the best players in Europe, I think it doesn't matter what league it is, it was still against men much bigger, much older, much wiser, have seen more, obviously, at the skill level of the NHL. But with that being said, I think it just reassured him, like, I can do this. If I work hard and I have the talent, and it's just a quiet air of confidence, like, let's go. It's really nice to see.
Confidence, but not arrogance. And
not arrogance. No, he knows he can play in the NHL, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And I've been really impressed with 4 days of media attention. No, you can't really overdo what happened at the draft, but you had, I'd say, 30 Toronto reporters there on day one, and less as the tournament, as the camp has gone along, and he's being asked the same questions, and no flustering, just very, very friendly, very professional. He's got it. He's 18 years old, but he's got it. I don't think he's fazed by the media, and he just seems very confident. I think right now he seems like the perfect fit for the Toronto market.
Yeah, I think the biggest disservice you could do to Austin Matthews if you live in Canada or if you're from the Canadian media is to say, well, he's from Scottsdale, Arizona. Just get off of that. It doesn't matter where you're from. It has no bearing.
Look where people are being drafted.
What do you mean, like how, like when bringing up how?
It's like a negative, like okay,
saying
Connor David is Canadian, and Austin Matthews, well, he's from Scottsdale, Arizona, so yeah.
Well, I think
drafted him number one, so.
I think the Canadian media needs to open their mind a little bit and look where players are being developed. Look where they're being drafted now. We have kids from Florida, from Arizona, from California, from all throughout the United States. You look at Europe. We got teams like Switzerland, Austria, Germany, Denmark. It's not just Mississauga anymore. It's not the greater Toronto area. We need to look where the best. You just take the best player. It doesn't matter.
Mike hears the rumblings. He does.
I know. Okay. That's fine. You know what? Trade him. Trade him for an Ontario. Trade him for an Ontario kid.
Honestly, the thing is, and we know this, Dan, because
how many Americans were drafted in the first round this year? I'm sure that irritates them.
Probably, but we know this because of Tavares. We know this because of Stamkos. We know this because of McDavid. There is a love affair in Toronto from kids from the GTA. But the thing is, and Stamkos and Tavares and McDavid, can handle the pressure wherever they are. They seem to be able to handle the pressure. And I think that is the only reason for that hesitancy about Austin Matthews is it would have been perfect to have McDavid or perfect to have Tavares or perfect to have Stamkos because they grew up in that area and they knew what the pressure was like and they can handle it. Maybe they don't want to handle it, but with Stamkos, it seemed like he just wanted to go back, play with his buddies, make almost as good of money in Tampa as he could in Toronto, and not have to deal with the pressure. But there is that thing about, that's what brought David Clarkson back, was the Toronto hometown boy. They loved the hometown boy.
Besides that, who's come back? Matt Martin, I know.
Nobody really.
Yeah. I wouldn't say Stamkos stayed away out of the limelight. Stamkos re-signed with the best team that was making him an offer. Right. Lightning are the best team.
And he has a life down there too right now. It's not like he's only been there for a year. He has a life, and that is important.
and the most popular Toronto Maple Leaf of the last, I'd say, 30 years is from Kelvington, Saskatchewan. Okay, and that's Wendell Clark. The second most popular was from Kingston, Ontario, and that's Doug Gilmour. And maybe the third, I don't consider him very popular, but was Matt Sundin, and he was from.
What do you mean not very popular? How could you say that?
He was very popular. He was very popular.
I said I didn't consider him very popular. He's probably the third most popular guy. Jeez. I'm sorry. I can't get over the no trade clause stuff. I'm sorry.
Oh, God.
Never.
He loved Toronto so much he didn't want to leave.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
So what you're saying though is that Toronto tends to love Canadian players.
Yeah, there was a lot of hesitancy about Matt Sundin being the team captain of the Leafs because of the fact that he was Swedish. Because they want and I don't think it was like overwhelming or anything, but there was that though, he's European, so he's not going to be a rah-rah guy. And he wasn't a rah-rah guy. They had to bring in guys like Shane Corson and Gary Roberts to be support guys because
John Tavares isn't a rah-rah guy, and he's a freaking captain. Neither is Jonathan Toews.
But the role of captain now has changed, Dan. It's not the leader. It's the best player. Sidney Crosby was made captain at what, 21, 20? You know, he wasn't a rah-rah guy. He was just the best player on that team, and perhaps the best player in the world at that point.
So wait, do you think then, because sometimes you can be the best player, but you may not be best at handling like the media, or like when you're in a tough situation, maybe mentally you're not the best. Do you think that is important when you're talking about being a captain? Because to me, that still is an important factor. Like if you can't handle the media when you're losing and you're the best player on the team, then are you really the best player on the team, or should you not be captain? I think that it's more than just being the best player. That
sort of goes along with what happened in Montreal, because remember last year it was Max Pacioretty or PK Subban who was going to be captain, and I assume it was the players who voted, and they voted for Pacioretty. If they had voted for Subban, do you think Subban would still be in Montreal? Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. All I know is that, I think that would have made a bit of difference, although, the problems with Subban in Montreal seem to go more beyond just the players in the locker.
Captains get traded all the time now. They never did when we were kids, but now they get traded all the time.
Yeah, Shea Weber got traded. So I mean,
yeah. So.
And who's going to be the new captain in Nashville? Have they said that yet?
I would think it could be Yossi. It could be.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Yossi. What about Mike Fisher?
Yeah, that would be a good, transitional guy.
Transition. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Philip Forsberg is some, Ryan Johansson. Yeah,
it's not James Neal. I'll tell you that.
Johansson, they're not going to make a captain, and it's not James Neal. Nobody would make James Neal a captain.
No, it's not James Neal. No.
I could see Mike Fisher. I could. I really could.
That makes sense. And ironically, everybody was assuming that if the Leafs had signed Stamkos, that Stamkos was going to be the next team captain. Right now, there is not a peep from anybody.
Even that guy who had the Stamkos Leafs jersey and put it on Instagram, was it that guy?
Even him, yeah. No. But
who is going to be a Leafs captain?
There's not going to be I would bet anything there's not going to be a Leaf captain at least the next year or so. But I think they may be grooming Morgan Riley for it.
That's what I was thinking.
In a couple years down the road, but not right.
I don't understand that part. Like, you do have to have a captain, because on the ice, are you always going to have your assistants go up to the referee, like and talk to them about the calls or bitch about something? Like, you do need a captain for those things. And so, like, why don't they have it? I mean, it doesn't make sense.
No one on the roster over 25 years old.
But it doesn't matter. You just pointed out. But you just pointed out all these young captains. Like, I don't see why there's an issue. Like, if Morgan Riley became captain, what would possibly be the issue?
I don't know. I think right now
the pressure would immediately go through the roof. I mean, we're talking about Toronto's market. It's an intense market. You're going to put a captain on the C on your jersey. There's going to be different expectations.
How about Van Riemsdyk? No, that's terrible. Sorry. Never mind. Move on. Even as soon as it came out of my mouth, I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, unplug your mic and replug it in, Dan.
See? That's how little sense it made.
Yeah, well, here's something that will send you to get your tape, because we're going to mention Jimmy Vesey for a second.
Oh, no!
Yes, why? There's no reason to. There's no news.
Yes, there is.
No, there isn't.
There is a bit of news, Dan.
Has he signed somewhere yet? No, then it's not news.
Okay, put the tape on, please. WKBW-TV in Buffalo reported this morning that Jimmy Vesey and GM Tim Murray of the Sabres are going to meet in Boston either today or tomorrow to discuss the potential of him signing. Now, this comes on the heels of, there was an article from Kevin Paul DuPont of the Boston Globe on Saturday where Vesey was quoted as saying, I'm going to August 15th. And then I was a part of the media scrum yesterday in Niagara Falls where his brother Nolan was asked a question about Jimmy coming to Toronto. And he point blank said, I love him to come. It would be cool to play with him, but he's going to do what's best for him. It's not going to have anything to do with me or with my dad. It's going to have to do what the scenario that's best for him, and he's going to go to August 15th. So not to say that the Sabres shouldn't meet with him and try to get him to sign, but Russ, I don't think he's signing. I think he's going to go to August 15th, and then we'll see where he goes.
Now, this is part of the Vesey tour, the due diligence. I think that's really all it is.
Do you have anything to say, Dan?
No!
That was actually very clear through the tape. That was impressive.
Yeah, you should wear tape more often.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it needs to, we need to blow it out of proportion or anything. I agree with Russ. It's part of the VC tour. He'll keep doing his thing, and what happens is, I likely see him signing after August 15th anywhere. Whether it's Buffalo or wherever it is, it's going to be after that time, I think.
Well, the funny thing is, Russ, or Dan, if you want to rip the tape off, if he goes to August 15th and then signs with Buffalo, then what was this exercise all about?
I don't know. I guess playing in one of the greatest cities in the United States, Nashville, Tennessee, playing there alongside some dynamic players, instantly being in a top 6 role, and playing in last year's playoffs, that's not a good fit. Okay? All right, fine. I guess playing next to Jack Eichel, his buddy, and one of the best young dynamic centers in this game is not a good fit. Okay, then what the hell's a good fit?
Where he wants to play. This is about free will.
The one thing we do have to still remember is it's still about that next contract, too. Who does he believe will give him the best next contract?
He already would have had a year burned if he was in Nashville.
But it doesn't matter. But Nashville, you see what happens when Nashville extends players. They don't necessarily get much more than market value.
Really? Shea Weber didn't get a good deal?
Listen, Shea Weber...
Philip Forsberg didn't get a nice deal? That's a nice deal for Philip Forsberg.
Shea Weber got a good deal because Philadelphia signed him to an offer sheet.
Right. What did Yossi get? It's fair. Rene's fair.
Yossi's contract is one of the most cost-effective deals. It's next to John Tavares. That's the most fiscally responsible deal.
He grew into that contract.
He's been making less than $5 million.
Dan, when you're a player and you have a choice to go to a team that isn't as fiscally responsible, you're going to sometimes look at that other team and say, my next contract is going to be way better with this team than it would be with the team that wanted me initially.
He just keeps. I hope he's good. I really do. I think he is. But no, seriously, he's pissed off a lot of players in this league.
Oh,
I had a player specifically tell me, who the bleep does he think he is? Someone said he's not Jack Eichel. He's not.
Oh, that's fine.
I had another player said he's not Johnny Gaudreau, and those guys. Look, I understand the loophole. I don't think there's a national media tour that needs to be available. I've never seen a player use the whole loophole and do this.
Was there this kind of hue and cry about Matt Gilroy or Mike Riley or Kevin Hayes?
There were some annoyed people. I remember the Ducks were not happy when Schultz used it. What about Blake Wheeler? But there wasn't a worldwide tour. Where's Blake Wheeler going to sign? Like, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
But now, listen, this is how the game is sort of evolved.
Yeah, because Toronto's involved. That's why.
No, it's not because Toronto's involved. It's because he's the Hobie Baker.
I said too much.
I gotta take my dog out. Hold on.
It's because he's the Hobie Baker Award winner. It's because he's I think projects to be a top 6 forward. It's funny. Jillian, I had people comparing Jimmy Vesey. There are people, Toronto fans, who don't watch the NCAA, don't know who some of these college guys are, and the Leafs signed a few college free agents a few years ago. A guy by the name of Christian Hansen, who was a son of one of the Hansen brothers from Slapshot, and they were comparing Christian Hansen, Jimmy Vesey, to Christian Hansen. And I'm like, we're talking night and day here. I mean, I think a favorable comparison to Jimmy Vesey is Chris Kreider. And
that's a fair comparison. And actually, Vesey plays better defensively, and Kreider's probably a better skater. But it's close. And look, Vesey played such a good all-around game last year that nobody's going to deny that he has talent. Now, just because he's done this, it doesn't mean that he should automatically be able to walk into the NHL and get an automatic job either. I mean, he's still going to have to prove that. Even though someone's going to say, hey, we've got this second-line gig for you, he's still going to have to prove himself or he'll get sent down to the AHL like anybody else. Once you sign that deal, those things fade away.
I hope he can handle that. He was already offered first-line minutes in the playoff race.
He can handle that.
Well, I mean, again, I think this is the thing that people don't understand. He's going to be offered first or second line minutes anywhere he plays.
Even in Boston?
Even in Boston. If they don't, they're stupid. I mean, I really think so. I think he'd be a first or second line guy with the Sabres. He would have been with Nashville. He would be with Toronto, although Toronto won't guarantee it. Nobody's going to guarantee it. And he's going to get the same contract. He's going to get the same level of bonuses from. And if a team does not offer the top bonuses for him, they're going to be out of the running. And it's going to be basically a 1-year deal. A 1-year deal. He goes to RFA, and then he gets a one-way contract after an entry-level deal. So everybody's pretty much offering him the same thing. He's going to go where he wants to go. And I think that's the whole thing. He may very well sign with Buffalo, so all the Buffalo people on Twitter don't get up in an uproar. I'm saying he's going to go to August 15th, and then he'll sign where he wants to sign. And it may be Buffalo, but it could be Boston and Toronto too. So, Julian, to finish out the show, there was some news that broke about an incident in Buffalo that was just before the draft, and our good buddy Evander Kane has stepped in it once again.
Making headlines again, and even the GM said he's tired of hearing these things in the headlines. Whether they're true or not, he said it doesn't matter. He doesn't want to hear these anymore. Essentially, the news broke that he is facing. So he has not been charged. So I want to put that out there. We're not accusing anybody of doing something in case he hasn't. But he is facing non-criminal charges of harassment against 2 women. And there is a third woman who is not coming forward to press charges. His lawyer is still vehemently denying that anything happened. But I think we can all agree at a certain point when you continue to make headlines for these things, you are showing that you have problems outside of being able to maintain your cool, handling yourself if you've been drinking because it was at a bar. It's an issue that we see come up in the league a little too often, and I think all of us can agree that we don't know exactly how the league is handling these. We don't want to say you're guilty. We don't want to punish you if you haven't been charged with anything, but at a certain point, these players do get held to a little bit of a different standard. They're in the media. They are role models whether they like it or not, and the NHL needs to do something more, especially when you have repeat offenders like this.
And remember, Dan, this is the third incident. The first one, there was no charges. I'm not going to go into the specifics, but it was an incident that was reported, and it ended up not being charged. Then there was the suspension that he had after I think it was a Saturday afternoon game against Colorado. It was one of his best games as a Sabre. He scored a couple goals, I believe. He went to the NBA. It was a Sunday. He went to the NBA All-Star game in Toronto. Took either a private plane or a helicopter to Toronto, and then forgot to get back for practice the next day and was suspended by the team. So you've got strike 1, strike 2, and if this incident is strike 3, good luck to Tim Murray trying to trade this guy because he's just a magnet for trouble.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've seen stuff. We've seen him be late to practice, and I understand he lives right next to the rink, so maybe that doesn't happen anymore, or maybe he just makes it on time. It's just one of these things. I think he needs to play better on the ice. He needs to act differently off the ice. I thought it was a bad signing. These are a lot of the reasons I thought he would be a bad signing. And this is why when the Rangers were sort of talking about getting him, I was like thinking to myself, boy, him in New York would be a bad idea. And this is what these are all the reasons why.
Dan,
no, you're right.
For a team and I'm not saying that there's a rumor here, but I'm saying a team like the Islanders who was looking for a replacement for Opposo and Nielsen, the skill set is there with Kane, but the off the ice stuff, to me, that scares. If I'm a GM, that scares me away from him.
I think if you look at the Islanders' track record under Garth Snow, I mean, they've kind of steered clear from anything like this. I know they've taken people who might have been disenfranchised a little bit. I mean, Kirill Kabanov had his issues in the locker room. Joshua Hosang has had his issues, but no legal issues. It wasn't like, it wasn't anything off the ice. It was things on the ice, locker room, maybe the desire, things like that. They've taken some chances with that, but nothing. I don't see it happening now. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, if Buffalo took, said, hey, we'll take a 5th-round pick for Evander Kane, it's something you have to think about.
The problem is he's making $5 million a year.
That's the thing, exactly. So I just don't, look, I think the talent's there, and you want to give him another chance and the benefit of the doubt, but I think he has to change, and he has to prove he can make better decisions off the ice and play better on the ice before anybody's going to give him a shot.
At a certain point, too, I feel like that the NHL needs to step up, and they need to. I haven't heard their stance on domestic violence, abuse, any of these things. I haven't heard it, and I think these players are playing a very highly physical game where you're trying to tell me that you have all these emotions in a game.
Right.
Sometimes it's hard. I've never been in that situation, but I have to imagine it's hard to control your emotions when you're a professional athlete. What kind of training do they get? What kind of off-the-ice help are they given? Obviously, if somebody continues to make the same mistakes, they have an issue. What are they doing? What is the league doing to help? That's my other question.
And they can't do anything, though, until something happens. That's why they had the team talk first, because unless there's some sort of charges, they really can't do anything. Really, no league will do a lot. But here's the thing. He's 25 years old. The guy needs to grow up, too.
Yeah, I mean,
here's my question. His teammate, Ryan O'Reilly, has anything ever happened with his charges, the DUI charges, or driving impaired?
No, I mean, I think it ended up being community service or something like that.
But still, why didn't the league say, look, you drove your car into a Tim Hortons, you need to sit for a few games?
Yeah.
I agree.
Jared Stahl got arrested for what, painkillers, or no? Was he cocaine? Was Jared Stahl cocaine?
It was cocaine.
You need to sit for a few games. Mike Richards, was it the painkillers? You need to sit for a few games.
Yeah, and I mean,
you got to send the message that this behavior is not acceptable.
It's not, and it shouldn't be. It should not. You are not above the law. If I did that at my job, they would have been like, "See you, bye, get out. You're not here anymore."
The league came down pretty hard in the Slava Voyanov situation, but that was in the way.
But these are all misses. These are all opportunities. You have to be consistent.
The league only came
I don't
down
know
hard.
was the Richards a miss? He lost an awful lot of time, and only the PA was sort of able to get his job back for him. I mean, the Kings pretty much took out Mike Richards, right?
But there still needs to be supplementary discipline. The league needs to say this is not acceptable. You cannot get liquored up and drive your car into a Tim Hortons because that's just a Canadian stereotype anyway. But still, you can't. It's not good for the league. It's not. It gives a black eye to the league, and it creates a sense of it creates like entitlement. And there's nothing worse than entitlement.
When real issues happen, when really large, big problems happen, they mishandle them, and then it looks really bad because if you can't handle. Listen, it's a pretty simple one. He drove his car into a Tim Hortons. That's a pretty that's clear cut, right?
That's fine.
So then when you start getting into these weird cases, I don't want to call them weird, but when it's talking about abuse and is he being charged, is he not being charged, and it's really there's a lot of gray area there. You're going to mishandle that too, and then you come across as tone deaf to many of your fans of the league, and if you can't handle the simple ones, you're not going to do well in the complicated ones either. And
I just got 5 drive-through jokes on the Ryan O'Reilly thing. So, okay. And last word from me on Evander Kane. He got in trouble in Winnipeg with his teammates. I don't know if he's in trouble with his teammates in Buffalo, but he's in trouble with everybody else. I just don't know with that contract. I think the Sabres, if they're going to move him, they're probably going to have to eat a lot of salary to make that deal worthwhile for somebody to give him another chance. But his chances are running out in the NHL, and he's got to straighten himself up. He is 25 years old, and he's got to, as Russ said, grow up. Okay, great show, guys. We will be back tomorrow with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. For Jillian Fisher, for Dan Petru, for Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.